Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Lotus. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and check out some of our other videos. I think you're really going to dig them. We talk about all things strange and unusual, and today we have a special guest with us by the name of John, and he's going to tell us about his abduction experiences as well as his paranormal experiences. Anyway, so stick around with us, won't you? Conspiracy theories, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and all things strange and unusual. This is Black Lotus.
Hey everybody.
Hey, how's it going? Michael, your mic is muted. I'm not sure why. There we go. Okay. There you go, brother. Anyway, so
Good evening,
gentlemen.
Welcome,
John. John, what is that other name you're known by? Because your YouTube channel, Wreaking Havoc.
Yes, Wreaking Havoc 215.
Yeah. So I haven't checked out your video channel yet, but I'm definitely going to. But anyway, guys, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Very good.
Very well, thank you. John, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks. I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah, John, I was going to say thank you for being on. It's very courageous of you to come on and talk about what you're going to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Appreciate it.
It is hard for abductees to come out publicly about it. We were just talking about this last week, and how, there's a lot of abductees out there that have had bad experiences. I know some people have had good experiences, but a lot of them have had bad experience, and they even talk, they think about, committing suicide, because they just can't handle the idea that they may be abducted again. John, do you think that is that the case with you?
At one point, it crossed my mind because I thought that was the only way I can make the fear to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I would never do, but it was something that was like always on my mind. Like I couldn't get over the fear, and I thought that was the only way I can make it stop. Luckily, things have changed in the past few months, and I'm at peace with everything now.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Can you tell us, first off the bat here, can you tell us about your experience with that?
Yeah, it was 1995. I was 15 years old. I lived with my parents and my little brother. They were going to go on a cruise, and they gave me the option to stay home or go with them. I picked the wrong option, obviously, and I stayed home. So it was a regular night. I was out playing basketball. I got home at 11 o'clock at night, took a shower. I was in a good mood. I had the house to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to my room to hop in bed to watch some TV. And all my lights are on. I'm not like in the dark or nothing. But as soon as I get in my bed, I couldn't even turn the TV on. It happened so fast. My bed starts vibrating. And it gets more intense, and it gets to a point where there's only one leg of my bed on the floor at a time. It's just jumping all over the place. And then it comes to a complete stop. And at that moment, I thought I had a paranormal experience until I had this intense feeling, and I turned my head to the right to look at my window, and there was two of them just staring right into my room. And I locked eyes with the first one that I seen. There was a taller one and a smaller one. So when I turned my head, I seen the taller one. And when I locked eyes, I stopped. I couldn't look at the second one, even though I saw it in my peripheral. And it was basically a staring contest. Neither one of us moved. Like it seemed like time just stopped. It felt like my breathing stopped, my heart stopped, like everything just froze.
I have a quick question for you. Were these aliens like typical grays?
Slightly. They're not like the classic looking gray. They had like a brownish tint to their skin.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe their heads weren't as as long as a gray would be, maybe like a little shorter. But I mean, pretty much it had the same characteristics. It was just, it didn't look like anything I've seen, but it looked very, very similar.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to totally interrupt you, but anyway, please go on.
No. Yeah, so I'm staring into its eyes, and like I said, I felt my heart stop, and like there's no communication back and forth. It was just both of us motionless staring. And that happened for like 20 seconds. And then I get another feeling, and I turn to the left and I see two pairs of legs step to my bedroom door from the outside, and the shadow of their legs went under my door into my room. So I can see two pair of legs, the shadows. And like my hallway light was on, my bedroom light was on. It wasn't like it was dark. So at that point, I knew what was going on, and I freaked out. I threw the blankets over my head, and then I just woke up the next morning on my couch, face down, with a scab on my back.
With a scab on your back, really?
Yes. And that's something I didn't equate to the situation until 17 years later, because I didn't put two and two together. I was like, how the hell did I cut myself on my lower back?
Right.
I still have a scar.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And sometimes it hurts, it like burns, like an intense burn occasionally. It's pretty strange.
And that wasn't the last time you woke up with something like that on your body, was it?
No, it happened a lot throughout the years when I wake up with injuries or cuts or bruises, but I never put two and two together. I just didn't worry about it till recently. I woke up. What do you think, Michael? Maybe like 3 months ago, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I woke up and I had burns on my knee and elbow. Hurt all day. I couldn't work. I was in pain. The next day when it started to heal, it was a bunch of scoop marks, like little circles in pairs, and they were deep in my skin. And I could barely take a shower, and I had a really hard time walking. It was excruciating pain, but I took pictures of it, and like the scoop marks are in pairs. I had like maybe 14 on my knee, and then I had a big one on my elbow, and then a couple pairs around it.
Wow.
The night before, I was fine. I was watching basketball. I think I had Taco Bell that night, passed out on the couch. Like I was 100% cool. I just wake up the next day with that in my body.
Huh.
John, in this staring contest, when you laid eyes on each other, obviously you were surprised. But were they surprised that you could see them, or did they just not care?
There was no motion to them. They didn't even move a hair. It was the whole time I seen them, they did not move at all. They didn't react to me seeing them, like not at all. Like the fact they didn't move, like really was like an eerie feeling because there was no reaction to me. I kind of think that they might be like a creation of another being, just for the fact that they had no emotion whatsoever.
It sort of sounds like that movie They Live. We got one that can see. Right?
So did this happen continuously? When this happened, did you think you were being abducted at first, or did you have other thoughts about it?
So when I first turned my head to look at them out the window, when I saw like half of the one's eye, I knew what was going to happen. I already knew.
Oh, okay.
I was into the subject, but I knew why they were like, I wasn't questioning why they were there. I knew why they were there. I was just shocked that they were in a tight-knit suburban community, because before this experience, I thought it was something that only happened on highways in the middle of nowhere or farms, stuff that's like out in the open. There's not a lot of people. So I was shocked that it was actually happening in my neighborhood. That was one of my first thoughts. Like, wow,
well,
this could happen.
John Lennon reported seeing a UFO, and that was in the middle of New York City. So, I think that they can show up just pretty much anywhere they want,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
and,
I had a quick question.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so when you looked at them, did they appear to you to be biological, a mechanic, a holographic, plastic? What impression did you get of what they were made of? like the matter?
That's a fantastic question, bro. That's fantastic.
My perception was that they're definitely biological. I actually seen pores in the
Okay.
skin. It
Gotcha.
definitely wasn't like fake or like someone in a mask or like a projection. It looked like a complete physical being.
Okay.
What kind of sucked about this situation was because my bedroom lights were all on, so the lights shining out the window. So
Yeah.
I only saw their face and their bodies were kind of blacked out. So I only saw from like the chin up. I
Okay.
couldn't get a good look at everything else. I wish I had a clearer look if they had like some type of clothing or something like that, you know?
Was this
But,
a
yeah.
second story window or a first story window?
Second story, and they were standing on the roof of the first floor patio.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
used to climb out that window onto the roof and hang out when I was a kid before that incident. So
Okay. Thank you.
My wife is with us in the chat room, and she says, hello. She says, do you have any recollection of what happened and what caused those scars?
what I told you guys is all I remember of that situation, and any
Really?
other. I don't remember having another abduction. I don't remember if I did or I assume I have been. I'm pretty confident I've been abducted, possibly prior and after. That's the only incident that I remember. Now I don't remember how that scar came about. I didn't even know it was there until I got in the shower the next morning and I felt the soap run down my back. I remember I jumped so high because it burned, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And I felt back there. It was like a huge scar, like in the lowest part of my back. I'm like, "How did I cut myself there?" I'm
Yeah,
not even
yeah.
thinking about what happened the night before. You know, I had to actually find a blog on the internet 17 years later, and I found a woman who described the same incident as me, and then she found a scar on her back after a scab went away, and she claimed a piece of her tailbone was removed.
Oh, really?
And that was the first time I ever equated the scar and the scab with the abduction. So there's 17 years I didn't even put that together.
Would you have you considered finding a professional to do a hypnosis regression? Would you care to do that?
Yeah, I've looked into it for a long time.
Okay.
It's something that I think it's really not done anymore as much as it was in the past. I live in Philadelphia, and Dr. Jacobs
Yeah.
lives close to me, but I think he's retired. And he was the first one and only one I really wanted to contact because I think he's extremely credible.
Okay.
But actually, this Sunday coming up, I have a reading with Michelle Gray. She was a guest with Michael a few weeks ago, and we're going to try to get some answers. I don't know if that would be considered an actual regression. What would you call that, Michael?
No, you're having
second.
a reading. You're having a reading. Yeah.
But if a full-blown regression, I would like to do. I would like to record it. I'd like to share it. You know, I would. Before I would never would even thought, but now I want to get closer to answers, not just for me, but for everybody.
Somebody in the chat room, Kimmy Gary, asked, do you think that this is really abductions or the elite with clones? Kimmy, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but maybe you can field this, guys.
Well, I guess a thought would be, the question is, we all seem to be going under the presumption that these gray looking things were alien in that they were not associated with humanity. So I guess perhaps what this person is asking is, do you think there's an alternate explanation? Like, it did happen, they were there, but the mastermind wasn't a non-human. Perhaps there was humans behind it pulling the string. I guess that's perhaps.
You know
the
what?
question.
I would like to interject here. I'm not crediting or discrediting. I'm just simply pointing out a piece of, quote, evidence. When I hear people tell me UFO stories or alien abduction or alien visit stories, I don't go into it and try to pick it apart. That's not what it's not necessary. What I do is intentfully listen to the credibility of the story. One thing that John said that tells me, speaking without using the words in the empty space, is he gave an amazing piece of detail which I don't think anyone can fabricate. He said he noticed the shadow of the legs coming through the door under the light. That's a very, very fine piece of observation to notice, because it's like they were standing there, we were hanging out, they were eating some cookies. I mean, he gave a very, very out of the way detail. And then when Wild Trees asked him, he again referred to silhouette. So this seemed to be an ongoing theme. So I'm assuming that his response would be, no, in my impression, these were absolute beings standing there in front of me, at least at a distance.
Yes.
But yeah.
But I believe they were created by maybe a higher being, just because the emotionless look on their face would make me lean towards that. Like, they didn't like jump back when they saw me. They didn't blink. They didn't do. Their mouth didn't move. It was absolutely nothing. That was the scary part, really.
Right.
I'm not making fun, bro. It just makes me chuckle because I get that what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't mean to make this about me, really, but I went through a abduction experience way back when, and I noticed the same thing, that they were very emotionless, but the majority of them that were on board with me were all the typical small grays, but there was one that was up on a catwalk, and it was like the typical tall white, and that one seemed to be leading the whole crew, and so I kind of wonder if these things are bio drones. I mean, they're definitely biological entities, but they're being controlled by.
They're definitely being controlled by some sort of hive, not necessarily. We call it hive mind. It could be a switchboard. Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Right.
But I definitely believe that these little emotionless creatures, that's some of the big hype around why they abduct, because they don't have emotions. And they're trying to understand that when they impregnate a woman and after she gives birth, they bring her back with the child and they rip them apart, and everybody's in pain because they can't be with even the mother feels this, even if it's a hybrid child, it's still her child. So they don't understand what this emotion stuff is, and they're trying to learn. But I definitely agree that these little things are the grays, the little ones, the bad ones, the ones that are the bug eyes and all that connotation stuff. I do believe it's AI. Absolutely, it's AI. Well, if it's not AI, it's definitely controlled or hive mind, because they have no will of their own. They're just like ants. They're just ants.
Right, and I've heard that mostly the grays, they're they have very basic functions, and that is to abduct the people, and then to conduct these medical experiments on them, or perhaps do medical procedures where, insofar as they do things like, as John was saying, he found that he had scoops of flesh missing. And then you were also mentioning, Keith, about women who become impregnated. I know of one woman who was pregnant for like 8 months. And then suddenly she was not. And she was told by the aliens that, her daughter would be raised in space. And so I wonder, what do the doctors think about this? I mean, how does somebody just not be pregnant anymore after being, especially after going through, amniocentesis and all of that stuff by 8 months? I mean, what do the doctors think? I kind of wonder about things like that. I mean, how do medical professionals view this kind of situation?
Very quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark them off as anomalies and don't talk about them again.
Yeah, probably.
Very strange. Very strange.
I have a curious thought. What if, and again, this is just a thought, what if these aliens that we're seeing, like what John's laid eyes on, are perhaps an avatar of sort for these higher consciousness beings who it's easier to create something like these little aliens, so to speak, and put them to the test, or to the work of going into the third dimension and lowering their vibration, rather than these higher vibrational beings having to lower theirs personally. What do you guys think? It's just a thought I had.
It has to be.
Yeah? You think so?
Yeah, it has. I would think absolutely. The higher realms are what's in control in the first place of everything. Even though those things that we would call dark, not good, really bad, there's always an order as to why things happen the way they do, from the highest of the hierarchy all the way down to the playing field. In
Yeah,
that regard, and in that way that I'm explaining it, yes. But I would also agree with it. And the other way, my brother Michael, is I would agree with that as well. Because, yeah, they can't come down to this level and still remain in this vibration.
Exactly.
So they're basically drones. Let's just send the drone out.
Yes. Yes, it's a biological drone of sort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's a great thought.
I have to say though, the two I did stare at, like in the window, even though they didn't move, after the fact, when I think about it, I have the feeling that they were actually concerned. Like those two were there to watch what the other two were going to do when they walked in my room.
Okay.
You know, they
okay.
did nothing. They did nothing to terrify me. It's just the situation was terrifying.
Mhm.
You know, but when I look back, I almost had this, like, I hate to say a parental feeling from them, but that's what it was. Like they were concerned with me. I have a hard time saying that, but that's how I felt.
Do you think that maybe they were there to observe in case you did something, that got out of hand or something?
I just had the impression they cared.
Oh,
John, if I may, as a spiritual teacher, this is not, I'm just letting you know my level of credibility and my role in what I do. Personally, if I was to work with you, not because you're broken, just because you want to express and or vent this life event that happened to you, your liberation from anything that may be boogering or hanging you up is in what you just said, sir. If you feel, keyword here, that they were caring for you, move into that like it ain't nobody's business. And it will make your journey from where you are seeking hypnotherapy, whether you do it or not. That feeling is more true than everything else you are thinking that might have happened, because the feeling of love, positivity, expansion, and growth supersedes and surpasses everything else in the story. I wanted to offer that to you.
No, it makes total sense.
I would totally agree with you, Keith.
Yep.
But conversely, I think a lot of people who have experienced abductions are terrified of accepting that these things are even real, or even that they want to think about it. And so it takes a great act of courage in order to do what you were mentioning, to open yourself up, because people are afraid they're going to be abducted again. What do you think?
It's definitely not fun. Whoever you are and it's happening, it may not be fun. Totally get it. And look, don't get me wrong, some of these beings out there don't give squat about anything.
Yeah.
You're just a roach on the kitchen late at night when they turn the light on, they're going to smash you with a fly swatter.
Yeah.
They just don't care. Some of them, absolutely.
I wanted to know if I could go on a little tangent with, from my perspective, what I think one of the possible reasons why they're abducting, and one of the possible things that's a low cost thing you could do to prevent abductions from happening. Okay, so I talked with Michael. So a really quick story is that one time I went to Colorado, and I climbed up this very high mountain with a researcher and his research assistant. We had to cross a river. We had to go over snow. When we got to this tall mountain, there was these big, beautiful pools of water, and in them there were these salamanders. And then what the researcher was doing, he had a really long pole, and he was collecting these salamanders. He was taking them to a tent that they were measuring them, weighing them. They were putting implantations in them. They were cutting off a little toe to mark them. And they were doing all of this because they cared about the salamanders, and they were doing a research project for the salamanders. And so to me, I said, that sounds a lot like an abduction. You're just a salamander. You're taken aboard a craft. You're beamed aboard. Your medical things are done to you. So it sounds like perhaps one of the reasons why people get abducted is for a scientific experiment. I will say something else is that if you guys haven't seen Jack Vallée, he was just on the Joe Rogan Experience. And Jack Vallée is a French ufologist. He's also into artificial technology. He's a computer scientist, Silicon Valley entrepreneur, very well respected. He says that he doesn't think they're medical or they're experiments, because he says they've happened so long that they would have already gotten all the data they need. But I think he's showing a bias, because he's not a biologist. Because I will tell you, in biology, we have what's called long-term data sets. So there are experiments in biology that last for decades and decades, and they're highly valued and they're very sought after data sets. So I think it is possible that just because these abductions happen so often and for so long, I think that plays along with a biological experiment. Okay, so to kind of wrap this up now, in biology, when you do work with an organism, you have to follow these guidelines. It's these medical guidelines. Part of them say that you have to have a veterinarian on hand to approve all the plan you do on these animals. And, this plan, these guidelines, it's a lot of work, but it's basically to ensure the health and safety of the animal. Now, this only applies to vertebrate animals, so animals that have bones, basically. So this doesn't apply to insects or plants or worms. But the point is this, perhaps whatever's doing this, if they are doing a scientific experiment, perhaps they've discussed this as well, and they believe as well that there should be some kind of guidelines that control what kind of research is doing. So then my idea would be, this is a simple idea, it wouldn't cost you anything, but I would maybe write on a document down, and I would write the document down. I would say, I do not want these abductions to occur anymore. I do not consent to them. They are providing me extreme emotional harm and physical harm. And I just do not consent to it. And then just address it to these abductors. And then I don't know what to do with that letter. Just keep it on you at all times. I don't know. It sounds far out there, but it's very low cost and low effort. And I would say it's worth a try.
No, I think you bring up a great point, Wild Trees. A lot of times they say when you want something to manifest, an activity that you can do is to write things down in the most detail that you can possibly do. And with that sort of intention and the power of manifestation, again, it'll bring you a little bit quicker to that manifestation.
I have a question.
And that manifestation will be in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
It goes with you wherever you are. That is your intention. In fact, that paper and those words are actually living energy. They are vibrating in your pocket. So outward, you express this band of your concern. And therefore, they don't need to, you don't have to say, oh, wait a minute, let me get this out of my pocket. They already know it's in your pocket because it's part of your energy signature now when it wasn't before.
Well, right, and I think that it's a lot like when people like Wiccans will do a ritual. They will surround themselves with light, and and to protect them from the lower spirits. And so I think it's very much that same kind of situation. But I have a question for the crew here, for everybody. Why do you think it is that some people are revisited time after time after time after time throughout their whole lives? And then there's people like me where it was just like a one-out shot. It happened back in 1988. I didn't remember until 1995. And to my knowledge, I haven't had another abduction experience since. I've seen UFOs since, but I haven't had I haven't been abducted. And I kind of wonder if it's like when you're out fishing, and, you catch the small one that is of no interest to you, so they just throw it back, and
Yeah, you weren't the proper
right
tool they were looking for.
Right, exactly. So I wonder why it is some people experience it all the time, and then others like me, then I know I'm not alone, that has only had one major experience.
Well, I mean, let's go back to a spiritual concept, called agreements and contracts. Before you incarnate, you're agreeing to a certain experience so that your soul has that experience. And of course, once you get down here, we have what we would call free will, for a lack of better terminology, to execute that plan or to deviate based on really whatever part of evolution our soul is on. I think that matches the desire and what we have actually go after. So when it comes to, something like, Damian, your experience where, you kind of feel like you were picked up out of the cornfield. Oh, this one's got a third ear. Let's keep going. I think a lot of times, that there are people who agree to have one connection or experience, which I mean, for all you know, you're still in contact, and through dream states, you might be traveling. Unless you have specific memory of that, you're not really sure. I mean, it's possible that once you make that connection, there's always something subtle there. But in the case of maybe somebody who's being abducted time and time again, I think that there's a much deeper spiritual contract there which is the implication of which goes much further than perhaps just having a conversation with somebody who's had those sort of experiences. There's a lot of digging that has to be done inside someone who's having multiple contacts with these extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, because I've always thought that that's probably the reason that I was only abducted once. Now, am I still in contact with these things? I don't know. I can't say as I am. I saw a movie a while back, and for the longest time, I couldn't remember a portion of what happened to me while I was on the ship. And it was when I was on this slab, for lack of a better word. And I just totally blanked whatever happened to me until I saw this movie, and it was called The Fourth Kind. And in it, one of the people in it were she was under hypnosis, and she was describing what she was going through, and part of the scene was there was this drill kind of coming toward her eye, and I freaked out. I couldn't even watch the rest of the movie, and ever since then I've remembered what happened while I was on that slab, and almost nightly I'm waking up screaming in cold sweats because I remembered what happened. Now, do you think that that's some sort of connection to them still, or is this like a memory?
Once you open the cosmic door, you can't shut it.
That's true.
I think honestly, likened to a seed, what happened to you, Damian, is you were aware of the inception. Wow, this is brand new. Of course, it's going to catch you by surprise. But as things progressed, like a seed, it blossoms into a flower. You don't just crack open the cosmic door and think you can shut it. I think personally this is ongoing for you. And because of those, let's call them night terrors, the drill, and just the whole experience, you're not allowing yourself to go there again when probably by now, like Whitley Strieber, you may have made friends with them. At first it's all radical and strange and crazy and upsetting. But you can't experience that because you're not allowing that door to be open.
I see. That makes a lot of sense.
So if you allow the door to be open, the reason it got your attention the first time, because you had nothing to squint or hunker down about. Oh my God, I'm shutting this off. You were just this person who was just living his life and Merry Christmas. And now, when Christmas season comes around, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen. Kind of like that. So, after the abduction, I wasn't like completely terrified. I had it under control. But I was watching, it might have been the very first episode of Ancient Aliens, and the first episode of first season. I'm watching it, and as I walk away, I remember just stopping, and I felt the same fear I felt when I saw the beings in the beginning. And like ever since that instant, I couldn't sleep for like 10 years after. But something about what I saw on that show just triggered the fear. And when that happened, my life went downhill fast. But something I saw on that show unlocked something in my brain. It was definitely.
That, John, that brings me to another question for you. I saw in your bio that this whole thing has affected you emotionally, and it's left these emotional scars. It has affected your relationships as well as perhaps your jobs, that sort of thing. Can you describe that a little bit more and what you went through?
Yeah. As far as jobs, when I was in my early 30s, I used to have these feelings where I would think I knew 100% that they were on their way and they were coming to get me right then and there. So I had a bad habit of not going to sleep till the sun came up and then calling out of work and sleeping through the day this might happen a week or at a time or 2 weeks at a time, which caused me to lose a decent amount of jobs. As far as relationships, it's hard to talk to people that don't understand or believe in this stuff, especially if I'm in a relationship where the woman is completely against the subject 100%. And like, I have these emotions going through me and I can't release them to her because she should be the person I can confide in the most. But in this situation, a lot of times that's not an option for me. So everything just stays bottled in, and I could take it out on her accidentally because I can't release and talk about it. It affected my decision making for a lot of things. It affected the reason why I don't have kids. It affected every aspect of my life completely, and it had a bad effect on every aspect of my life. I'm just starting these past couple months of getting out of that, and trying to get myself back to it.
Congratulations, bro.
But yeah, the fear just controlled my life. And like now I talk to you guys, I talk to everybody, people on YouTube. I have people to talk to that won't laugh at me when I tell them something. My friends, talking to all my friends is not an option. Confiding in my family is not an option. Doing stuff like this is so therapeutic that I don't know where I would be in my life if I didn't have this outlet right now.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you there. I remembered my event in 1995. And for years and years, I kept it to myself because, first of all, I was a manager at a restaurant, and I didn't want my employees finding out about this and, calling me some sort of kook and that kind of thing. But it is hard. It's hard to trust somebody enough to be able to come out and be open with it. And I didn't do it until it was just about 2 years ago. And when Ralph and I did a episode here on Black Lotus about our personal UFO experiences, and I decided to come public about it at that point. And I'll tell you what it was like. This huge weight came off of me because it was just like so freeing. Because at that point I was like, well, I used to give a damn and I don't anymore. I'm semi-retired. I don't really care what anybody thinks about me anymore, but I totally understand what it's like to have it bottled up. I like I said, there were a few people that I had confided in, and not all of them really understood, and one of them was one of my wives, my past wives, and she didn't get it and she didn't understand it. And she was like, well, you can believe what you want to believe, but I don't believe in all that shit. And it was like, thanks. I appreciate it. My wife,
no support,
no support at all, so yeah.
I understand that. I understand that, Damian. It's a little tough sometimes to share something that it's special. It means something. It's sacred as to why it has such of our hyper focus in the first place. So that being said, when we have these kinds of experiences, when we become ourselves and express exactly what's happening, confess, if you will, to the world, it immediately moves everyone who is not part of your tribe away from you. And it gravitates your tribe to you. Those who want to hear about your experiences, and almost to the level they wish they are the ones having them. So it brings those that you can trust versus, I just can't speak. But I get it. I've had many experiences in my life that, not necessarily, at least for me, that I didn't think I should say it. Some of them I just wanted to keep to myself.
And I'll add something to what Keith just said there. I'm going to be a little redundant, but I'll say it a different way. When something like this happens and it begins to shift your life, your vibration, your personal vibration is changing along with everything else within you. You've been exposed to an entirely new paradigm of, some kind of reality that you could only have imagined. And yet there it is sitting there in your mind as the experience. And sometimes there's, obviously more evidence. So when it comes time to try to talk to those people who you normally were hanging around with before an experience like this and before such soulful rumination as to the reason, you were able to maybe talk about certain things, maybe not this, but you could talk about certain things. As soon as you go through this, again, there's a transformation that happens within the person and your vibration does change. Now, what happens there, it's up to you, to kind of go into the fearful side of it or to go in the loving side. And of course, sometimes those choices are easier talked about than actually done. But wherever you gravitate, those are where those other energies will be gravitating towards you. So you still will find the like mind wherever you sit after having an experience like this, but it just may not be with the people that you expected it to be with.
Bruh. Wow.
I just said what you said, man.
Bruh, you just put whipped cream on that pie. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Wild Trees, what's up, brother? Talk to us, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, my heart really goes out to you, John.
Agreed.
I really feel for you, man. I personally, I want to let you know that I'm here for you. If you ever need anything, feel free to talk to me. I mentioned this with Michael on his show. Michael was asking me if I think it's okay to be aggressive with the paranormal or to be insultive of the paranormal. And then that made me think about how if somebody's going to do paranormal research, probably the best way to get into it right now is by helping people that are having paranormal problems.
Mhm.
That's the best way. That way you're not causing more problems. Well, in theory, you're not going to cause it. You're perhaps going to do some good. Another little thing I wanted to mention, maybe it's nothing, but there's a lot of similarities between alien abductions and then fairy abductions of the past and fairy legends. And just one little thing that people used to say that could throw off an alien abduction was just like putting your t-shirt on backwards or something like that. Just something small, just going to sleep with your shirt inside out, your t-shirt backwards. Like sometimes these little gray drones or the little fairies, they'll just get so confused by this one little thing that it'll stop an abduction. That's
really interesting.
Yeah.
That brings me to I'm sorry, Ralph.
That's okay.
But this ties into that. John, I know you have had some paranormal experiences with, I believe it was your friend's aunt who had passed on. And I was wondering, for a question for the crew here is there some sort of connection between aliens and ghosts? And the reason I ask that is because Ralph and I have had a lot of UFO experiences as well as a lot of paranormal experiences. And so do you think that's sort of way it's tied in there?
I don't think so.
No,
I think it's separate things.
do you think so?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because people like us are more open to it. And maybe that's why it seems that way,
That's fantastic. I would agree with Ralph and Damian. I would say they are totally not the same. But the people who are open to the vibration
Right.
of the alien agenda, right? That's a bandwidth. It just so happens the paranormal in the dark ghost sense exist in its same bandwidth.
Yes.
I agree 100%.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would agree with that, yeah.
I'm sorry to have interrupted you, Ralph.
Oh, that's good. I just wanted to go back to John's seeing the aliens and stuff. How long did that last? What was it? Just a quick thing, or did it actually? Were you there for some time staring at each other?
I would want to say maybe 20 seconds, but it was a long 20 seconds.
No joke.
Yeah. It was crazy.
I have
I almost saw like a tunnel vision kind of form. Like I was just locked in. It was like the whole world stopped. And
How tall were they, bro? How tall were they, John? Just a guesstimate, it's fine.
I would say maybe 4 feet. I've recently been on Google Earth and actually went back to the house where it happened and took pictures of the roof it was standing on. So I have a good gauge of the height that they were looking in the window. So I would say about 4 feet. What do you think, Michael? About 4 feet?
I mean, given what I saw, given what I saw of your old house, the roof itself was pitched and then the window was up, and it looked like to me, I mean, it was hard to tell, but based on what you were describing too, that there was only a couple feet between the window and the roof. Is that correct?
Yes, their head took up more than half the window. And I say from what I think their top of the head was to the bottom of the roof where we're standing is about 4 feet. So their head had to have been maybe a third of their body.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. If you can measure, if you have that measurement, knowing that the window is about 2 feet from the rooftop, and then their heads are about 2 feet above that with the window, yeah, there you go. 4 feet, man.
John, quick description. I'm new to you, so thank you for allowing me to hang out with you, sir. Can you, though you said they didn't look like the normal, so to speak, grays or whatever, can you just give me a quick description is fine of, okay, we got the 4 foot whatever plus, sort of what they look like, skin color, humanoid, what was it?
Eyes.
They had all the great characteristics, but there was something a little off to them. They had the big black eyes. I could tell they slightly wrapped around the side just a little bit. Their face was completely featureless. They only had 2 little holes for a nose and a little slit for their mouth. There was no muscle definition. There was no bone structure. There was nothing. The head was like perfectly shaped. And they had like a long chin, it got bigger as it got to the top. But there was not one part of their head where I saw a bone or a muscle. It was perfectly smooth.
Interesting.
And their mouth, the slit was so small, like I don't believe they could have talked with it,
Right.
or even opened it. How small and tight it was, because there was no lips or muscle formed around the slit. It was just a slit.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that they talk. In my experience, they did make some sort of noise, and it sounded almost like dolphins. But otherwise they communicated telepathically.
Have you guys ever seen Super 8mm or 8mm film of this particular alien supposed being? Dude, it was so on point, John, of what you just described. Chin, I mean, it's literally exactly. Chin, 2 dots, and everything graduated into this helmet, so to speak. And I don't mean a real helmet. It wasn't this and a curvature and another curvature. It wasn't that. Yeah. It was this lemon drop, but it got bigger exponentially. Right. It's black and white film of the government supposedly having this little guy moving around.
Is this J-Rod?
Sure if that's, I don't know. I don't know, but know it by any name. But I'm thinking that maybe this is the little grays, that all the illustrations we saw were close renditions of what they look like. But you actually got a glimpse of what they actually look like. Or maybe there are 2 different grays. One has a little more curvatures in the face, and the other one has this pointed chin, long chin that just graduates to a melon on top. I don't know if they're the same or either way. But it sounds like to me
like the skin texture of an amphibian. Like it looked like it was slightly damp.
Okay.
Like their face looked moist. And like I said, I could see the pores in the face. That's how close I was.
Right. Keith, I think I saw that little film that you were talking about, where they're kind of interrogating this alien. Is that what you're talking about?
That's not the one. That's not the one.
Skinny Bob.
Go ahead, Waltrice. Go ahead, Waltrice.
Skinny Bob, J-Rod. There's a handful of them actually.
That's it. Hang on.
Which one?
I think both of those are fake, personally, in my opinion.
Well, I know one of them, the one I was talking about, was proven to be a hoax. The guy came out and admitted to it, that it was just puppetry. But I seem to recall, though, that they were interrogating this alien, and I think the important thing is the message that the alien was giving to people. And we need to stop destroying the earth. We need to stop destroying each other over petty differences. And I think that was, I don't care that it was a hoax. I think the message was what mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The one I'm thinking of is Skinny Bob. I just looked it up.
Yep.
Skinny
Good
Bob.
call there, Wild Trees.
So whether it's real or not, it sure does give credibility to it that it could be, because of the description John just gave. But what I look for when I look at conspiracy theorial videos of aliens from the days of old with black and white video cameras, Bell and Howell, is I blink. It's always I blink.
Uh-huh.
I blink, looking at me right now, I'm blinking and it's rapid, but there is a consistency in it. When you watch something that is animatronic, it's just open and shut, open and shut. There's
Right.
no wave to the actual experience happening. It's just this, it's either one or the other.
I don't recall them blinking at all in my experience, but
No, these definitely didn't blink.
Yeah.
That's new for me. Thank you for that piece of information.
I think it's also interesting. Obviously, somebody sees these beings blink. That's one thing, but to assume that they would have to, for the same reasons that we do. Maybe their environment is such that they don't need to do that.
Yeah.
That's what makes me lean towards that. They've been created.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because water on the eye implies a true biological suit, one that has to regenerate itself. I mean, if we don't regenerate, we die. That's the whole point of waking up every day and have cellular division. So if they don't blink, they simply wouldn't have a need to, because they're not having to coat the eye to sustain its life. Water is life-giving. There you go.
I think it was like a lens, because there was no like
Right?
nothing around
Good
their
Exactly
word,
right.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
There's no like wrinkles around their eyes or nothing to make it look like it was part of their actual anatomy. Like they were just sitting on their face.
Right.
Sitting on their face.
I totally agree with you. And that's the impression that I got too, that it was some sort of lens. And in fact, the entire body seemed to me to be almost a biological suit and not their actual body. And it kind of makes me wonder if, how we, gear up our astronauts to be able to go out in space, maybe, or to like go onto the moon to be able to be in that kind of environment. Maybe this is their form of that, So, yeah.
Pretty creepy suit.
I don't think any of us would fit into it. Well, maybe me. I'm short, but
I never thought of it like that, but that would kind of make sense. I mean, that would be like a biological suit, I guess, like almost like putting someone else's skin on.
Yeah.
Like
John,
I want to echo what Wild Tree said a little earlier, bro. I've been so involved with this, not necessarily extraterrestrials, but yes, in what I do and why I do it. I want to echo what Wild Tree said earlier. If you ever need someone to cuss at, bitch at, vent at, tell your truth to, bro, hit me up. I'm here. I get it. I love that you're stepping out, and you're doing that by stepping in. And then in that stepping, you're going to step everywhere. Sometimes in dog shit, and sometimes in a beautiful flower bed. Just know that I am definitely here, and I think everyone in this forum is here to support you on your merry way towards everything that is
100%.
possible for you, bro.
Yeah.
You're
I
safe
appreciate
here.
that, guys.
I
Thank
can
you.
speak for everybody. You are safe here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll echo the sentiment as well, John. I mean, I went through what you went through essentially. And so although they didn't take any flesh from me, they did. I do think that they put an implant in the back of my neck. And that's really weird. I mean, it'll pop up once in a while and then it'll go away. And I'll get a tingling sensation back there. And I was talking to somebody else about it, and they suggested that that tingling sensation is possibly when these things are present or if they're near me. And that could possibly be what it is. We live here in Las Vegas where, if you want to see a UFO, you just look up pretty much, because they're all over the place here, And so, yeah, I think that, I've definitely gone through a similar situation with you. So, yeah, again, I'll echo that second sentiment as well. Just, shoot me a message if you ever want to talk to somebody.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Damian,
I think that's a fantastic idea. Why don't we, whoever chooses, set up a specific night, specific group. It doesn't have to be public. In fact, maybe it shouldn't be public until we sort of grease the wheel. For those who have had situations that they want to be healed. Not that they're broken, but people who have a service about them to offer. Those who simply need a group to say, bruh, you don't understand what happened to me for the last 5 years.
Kind of like a support group.
Some people, absolutely.
Yeah.
And ratched up even more. A support group ratched up to really let people vent.
I like
That would just
this.
be phenomenal.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
That's something we should all talk about, obviously off camera and come up with a plan because,
Love
I think at the core of most of our all of our intention here is to help and heal. And, if people are receptive to that, then we should do this. You know what I mean? Nobody's forced to do it. You know what I mean? Nobody's forced to come in and talk. But if somebody wants to, they know that there's a safe place they can go. I think it's a great idea, guys. Good one, Keith.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Good idea, Keith.
Talking about it is the best thing you can do. Keeping it in is just self-destruction.
It really is. It really is. I mean, it's just, it causes so much stress, and stress causes so many other things, So yeah, definitely.
I had some questions for John too. I was going to ask. Okay, let's see. Before that event when you were 15, did you have any previous paranormal experiences? And when was the last time something like this happened to you?
So when I was in elementary school, I would have a reoccurring dream of me looking out the window, looking at UFOs. I had this dream for a couple years, but that's all it was. Even though I didn't understand the whole situation completely, and I didn't even know at the time what a UFO was, but I knew what it was. And my dream would be me looking at myself as a kid, looking out the window, pointing at them. And I had this dream easy 100 times. I'll even want to say more. But that was about it as a kid. Like, I always thought I might see like a shadow in my closet or something scurry across my room. But how parents are always just seeing things, just go back to sleep. So I never put any thought into it.
Right.
When I was 15 was definitely the first incident. And then throughout the years, I had random things happen like every year, every other year, not even alien related, more on the paranormal side. And
Tell us about that.
Let me see. Well, you guys already know about the ghost. There was one time I had missing time, which was completely strange. I was in my bedroom in the house where the incident happened. And a second later, I was in my driveway talking to my friend. And he was in the middle of talking. And I'm like, how the F did I get out here? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is impossible. And I can't hear him talking, but I see his lips moving. And slowly I was regaining my hearing. And I just jumped into the conversation like nothing happened and just forgot about it. That was a strange feeling. My friend's aunt, after I saw her ghost, he told me she took her life. A year after that incident, my friend took his life. And for a couple of years after that, I always felt somebody sitting on the corner of my bed, to the point where my legs would roll across my bed into the impression in the mattress. And that happened for a couple of years. Whole bunch of stuff like that leading up to where I'm at now, where, Michael can vouch for me. There's some crazy stuff going on in my apartment. I got like 4 months of documented orbs and shadow people and stuff that only can explain is figures flying through my living room.
All kinds of crazy anomalies, really.
It's a daily.
Were these things happening, John, when you were 15 as well?
No.
The shadow people, no.
The shadow.
John, what I got for you intuitively, sir, if I may share, for what it's worth, I don't think this was an invasion of your sovereignty. I think this was destiny.
I agree.
It's just destiny. And it's just destiny. It wasn't it feels like an invasion. It would feel like an invasion to me in all my cool spiritualness, right? I wouldn't want something coming in, punching a hole in my consciousness window and yanking me into a situation that I'm not aware of. Because I would, like anyone, would have to begin the process of doing the work. And the work's a little scary. And so, point is, I don't think you were invaded. It feels like that. I'm definitely not trying to sully or desecrate or trivialize your situation. But I think this is part of your divine window. So I hope that makes you feel better about this ongoing thing for you.
Everything that happens to me is a one and done situation. Even like I had a couple of days in a row where I can only explain it as being like some type of ectoplasm on my hand, but it'll happen for a few days and stop. So I feel like I have like a paranormal checklist, and I'm just going off one at a time, checking things off as I go, like one and done, one and done. Like nothing's ever been repetitive in my life, which throws me for a loop. That's the hardest thing to grasp. You know, like if people see ghosts, they see ghosts. If people see UFOs, they're going to see UFOs more than once. Everything with me is one and done. I'm getting a little taste of everything.
Mary Hall in the chat room said, don't forget, guys, hit that like button. And so I just want to say thank you, Mary. I appreciate you mentioning that. Please do hit that like button. So and make sure you hit the little bell too, so you're notified every time we do this. We're going to be doing this format from now on Black Lotus every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So join us every week, please. But anyway, I think we are going to get out of here for the week, Ralph, unless you have any other questions or anybody else. You have some questions?
I just wanted to, go ahead, Wild Trees. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to mention, it's not a, sorry, it's not a question. It's just, I'm going to comment that we should have John back on to discuss his experiences after, coming out and starting to talk about this stuff, because the paranormal phenomenon that he's mentioned that he's been catching in his living room, we could be a whole show on that. So that's
really,
all. Sorry.
Really. Yeah, most definitely. We will most definitely do that. John, what do you think about that?
I think that'd be great. I like to share what I've been collecting. I have about 4 months worth and maybe 15,000 separate files and pictures I've been collecting from my security cams of activity every single day. I have shadow people scurrying around and orbs transforming into what looks like alien figures, then back into orbs. I mean, Michael can, tell you guys it's been an amazing ride. I just been
so John. After the first of the year, when I get Center of Light Radio going again, since the Lizard Boy crash, Facebook, I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break to the beginning of the new year. So that being said, I would like to get you on. My audience would love you. I'm digging you already, sir. And I would like to find you on social media so we can always stay in touch and dance that dance, bro. It was truly my pleasure to be in your space and your grace of what reality is like for you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Doing this kind of stuff is so therapeutic for me. Like I hold nothing back when I talk about this. I 100% accepted that the best thing to do is to share absolutely everything, especially the part about me thinking about the aliens being a parental type thing. I held that back for a couple months, but I feel like I shouldn't hold anything back. I gotta let everything out in case someone else had the same incident and wants to come forward,
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I enjoy doing it.
Mm-hmm. Big Wild Trees, you were going to say something. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I was going to say it kind of connects to what we were talking about. So you're talking about how you have all these associated paranormal phenomenon. So I was going to say a possible cause of this could be the alien technology. So aliens, presumably, or whatever they are, they presumably use technology. So I think some of this technology may generate incredible amounts of energy. It may have to do with time travel, and it may twist and turn gravity. So I think because their technology is doing these weird things, that's what's causing the associated paranormal phenomenon. That's possible. That's a possible connection between the two.
Yeah, it's definitely intense and undeniable.
Big Cat was asking what your YouTube channel is, John.
It is Wreaking Havoc 215. It is in its infancy.
Wreaking Havoc. Wild Trees, I agree with you, bro. I think there's a relationship, though we kind of debunked it a little earlier. In this regard, I think there is a relationship, that there is a parallel between the vibration of said things. So, yeah, absolutely, bro.
I think they travel in the same space, like aliens and ghosts and stuff. So if you can see that space, you kind of can see everything. That's the only way I think they're connected. But at the same time, there's what I can only explain as a paranormal highway going through my living room with a few different types of things. So like I said, the more I get into it, the more questions I have. But it's fun trying to investigate this. I enjoy it.
Yeah, John, if you have some video of this stuff, I'd love to see it. Next time you're on with us, definitely shoot those videos to me, and we'll play it here on the roundtable.
Absolutely.
Damian, I do know a few people who are time travelers. They may not be time travelers in the sense of physical time travel, getting a conveyance that teleports, but they do go under the label of time travel. Point is, whether we have them or not, whether it's just a panel of people, I would drool over a show on time travel.
Oh yeah, I am absolutely fascinated by time travel, and because I think it's possible, and I think it's maybe even probable that we have the technology for it now, and they're just not releasing it to the public, obviously. But yeah, I've always been fascinated by time travel.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, everybody.
definitely do that.
Thank
Damian
you.
and Ralph,
Yeah, thank
John,
you. Appreciate
Wild
it.
Trees. Wild Trees, I want to hook up with you too, bro. And I've been
Oh, yeah.
watching you and what you're doing, man. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
The blogs and stuff, yeah. I've been reading.
Oh, awesome.
Very deep, very long. So I have to take it in small bites. Michael, thank you.
No,
I'm gonna
thank
take
you
care
all.
of this.
Yeah,
Sheep
thanks
already.
to all of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, what do you say we get out of here?
Sounds good.
All right, folks. Thanks a lot for
Fantastic.
watching, and we will catch you next time. Between now and next Sunday, keep thinking and question everything.